Here's how wide the talent gap is right now between the Miami Hurricanes and the Florida State Seminoles.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
He's Brian Smith from Locked On Seminoles. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. Welcome into this epic crossover. And on this episode, we'll talk 2026 season predictions with Miami over under 10.5, very high number. Florida State over under 6.5. Who exceeds or falls short of those expectations this year? We'll talk about the talent gap and how wide it really is between the Hurricanes and the Seminoles, and we'll take a look position by position. Now, Brian Smith, I think an area where I can say like Florida State stacks up somewhat favorably against Miami and against most teams in the country would be wide receiver, because the Seminoles have some dudes. Like, how do you view that receiver core heading into the year compared to Miami's?
I think they're probably the definitive two best in the ACC. I mean, yeah. I need to see SMU. I mean, I know that Lashley does well, and there's a few others, but Duce Robinson, that's a guy nobody's going to cover. He's 6'6", 220 plus. Malachi Danzy's probably the fastest player in college football. For those that don't know, at one point last year, he had the 9th fastest 400-meter time, not in the USA, but in the world.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a different cat, but he's learning to play receiver. He was a high school running back, and he did well last year, but there's still more to go. And Javen Boggs is probably going to play slot. He's like the all-time leading receiver in the state of Florida. He was banged up quite a bit last year, but they really love him. If they get anything out of Boggs and Danzy increases his game, you're going to get 1,000 yards out of Duce. He beats double teams. He's an NFL player. I'll put them against anybody in the country at receiver because they're talented. The caveat is, Alex, I mean, if you've got eligibility, there's a possibility Florida State could use you at quarterback. I don't know how quarterback's going to work out for Florida State this year. Like, Ashton Daniels is a kid that I like. I know him. He's a great guy, but he's a first-year guy in the system and all that. You don't know how that's going to work. And if he's not the guy, Kevin Sperry was a freshman last year, played a little bit, but while I think he's going to be really good, he's only a sophomore. It's the wide receiver room that's talented, but you got to get him the ball. So Miami's situation is certainly better because of who they brought in.
Well, and also, Florida State doesn't have Malachi Toney, and Miami does, and that's
absolutely
that's where it starts for the U. And Toney is my preseason pick for offensive MVP for Miami this year, despite the fact that they just brought in a really, really good quarterback in Darian Mensah to throw him the football. But the reason why I give the edge to Toney as the offensive MVP is he's going to probably throw some touchdown passes of his own. He did that last year. I think he'll do it again in 2026. He's going to run for some touchdowns. So he's not even only dependent on a quarterback getting him the football. We know Shannon Dawson likes to get the football into Toney's hands by any means necessary. And then, of course, for the remainder of Miami's receiver group, like, we have a clear idea on 2 of the 3 starters, right? With Malachi Toney coming off a 1,200-yard season, double-digit touchdowns being one of those. We would imagine Cooper Barkate, who comes in with his quarterback from Duke in Darian Mensah, that Barkate coming off an 1,100-yard year, and he's not the fastest guy. He's not the most athletic guy, but he's always open. He's such a polished receiver and route runner. Barkate is more than likely going to be a starter. And then it's really up to, a competition between the likes of Joshua Moore, who's got the size and the physical profile, and a couple of transfers Miami brought in, Vandravius Jacobs from South Carolina and Cam Vaughn from West Virginia. There is talent beyond that. Dalen Upshaw, who, by the way, Malachi Toney, and Darian Mensah, on spring break, they're doing workouts together in California, so it's nice that they're building up that chemistry while they're on vacation. Some of the freshmen, like Samori and Wingo, could maybe find a way on the field early. So, yeah, receiving core, seems like both of us feel pretty good, Brian. But let's get a little bit more into that quarterback spot, because obviously I feel pretty good about what Miami has. Now, for Florida State, if it's not Ashton Daniels, is there a competition going on right now in Tallahassee?
Technically, yes. I know you're shocked by this, but Norvell's under a lot of heat. He's not letting anything out. Like, they're not showing he's went Mario Cristobal style with the media. So I don't know what's going to really happen there, but Kevin Sperry is the other guy. He's a kid out of Texas, played at a prominent program. I think that he is the long-term future of the program, but as I noted, he's a sophomore, a true sophomore. How are they going to do that? And if you go out and pay a guy to come be your quarterback, chances are you're going to give him the leverage to at least begin the season. So I expect Ashton Daniels to be the starter. His career is kind of odd. He went to Stanford. I don't think he was coached very well. Went to Auburn last year. He certainly wasn't coached very well until a certain guy got jettisoned. Then at the end of the year, he was awesome in 2 games.
Yeah.
It's weird. So trying to predict him is difficult, but he's a run pass guy, very intelligent. Obviously, he went to Stanford. He's obviously a smart individual, and he's a team first player. He just wants to win. I'm just curious because quarterback is such a touchy issue, and they do run the quarterback. So how much will Ashton run? I think if they're going to be successful, they need some luck because they probably need to run him more than I would like. But if you don't take a risk, are you even going to be a 6-win team?
Yeah.
So if he gets hurt, though, then you got a true sophomore standing behind your center. That's college football, though. That's why we love it. There's so much intrigue. Like in the NFL, if you're a Bills fan, you kind of know that Josh Allen's going to be behind center. In college, every other year, you're going to have a new quarterback. It's different. Yeah. Florida State's in that mix right now where they're trying to figure it out. So, I mean, I can't say for sure, but my guess is it'll be Ashton, and I expect it to be up and down. First-year guy in the system. They've got 4 or 5 new starters on the offensive line. There are a couple guys that have played a little bit.
And so does Miami, by the way. That's an area, offensive line, a lot of turnover.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well jump into that. Florida State's got finally a few guys that they've recruited themselves. They're competing. Andre Otto, I think he's a Key West kid, but South Florida guy, and a few others that have a chance to play. But they brought in some pretty good transfers. Is it going to work? I don't know, but these are kids that were pretty heavily recruited out of the portal. They spent their money there, which if you're going to spend money, offensive line's a pretty good spot to do it.
Yeah.
But Florida State has been so bad at recruiting offensive linemen since Norvell's there. It was finally time for somebody. So I expect Otto to start, but it's technically going to be, based on the last game of the season, 5 new starters. Wow. That impacts Duce, that impacts Ashton, that impacts everyone. And the running back room's really good. But
it is
5 guys up front. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm projecting the offense to be pretty good because the one thing Norvell has proven to be is a pretty good play caller. He's going to be the play caller again this year. But, Dawson's a good play caller for Miami, obviously. And they don't have to do a whole lot because while I know you're going to say, hey, we got 4 new offensive linemen, I've been around Mirabal. I know he understands it. He can talk it. He's proven it. They'll put it together, and we'll get into Jackson Cantwell and some of that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're going to figure it out and be at least a top 3 unit in the ACC offensive line, and probably, I would still guess, the best. That's weird. But who would you put above Miami in the ACC? Like Clemson's O-line lost a bunch, and they weren't that great.
Yeah, they did.
Florida State's all over the place. Virginia Tech's year 1. I doubt SMU has that's probably the ACC's biggest Achilles heel. This is not a good league up front. It's really not. So I think Miami will make mincemeat out of most teams. It'll be 2nd and 5 all day. And if you give Darian Mensah that, it's good luck.
Yeah, it's like I feel for Miami's O-line, I feel as good as you can feel about a group that's going to have, 4 or 3 new starters, depending on how you look at it. Like you can kind of say 3 new because Samson Okunlola played so much last year that it was like it was almost like he was a starter. So it's Okunlola and McCoy, who are the returning experience guys, and then you're going to have a new starting center this year, which will probably be Ryan Rodriguez, who's a 6-year guy with a lot of experience, just hasn't played a whole lot to this point. But you also have a guy like Max Buchanan and S.J. Alofi-Tuli competing there. Jackson Cantwell, we'll talk about the young players in a bit, but Cantwell coming in with his 5-star pedigree could very well earn a starting position on the right. And, it's not just Mirabal. I mean, he's one of the better offensive line coaches in the country, but Mario Cristobal is also like a second offensive line coach. And then the new tight ends coach at Miami, Mike Vitti, was an O-line coach at Army and coached the Joe Moore award-winning unit a couple years ago. So they basically have 3 high-level offensive line coaches on the staff. So, again, it's a lot of turnover, but a lot of talent. They're just going to have to build that chemistry. But when we come back, I want to talk about the D-line because I want to get a better sense for what Florida State has. And then for Miami, you have to replace two of the best in the country in Reuben, Bain, and Akheem Mesidor, who are both probably going to be first-round picks. How do you replace them? And let's talk about young players and true freshmen who might step up this year for both sides. You want to keep it locked. We're only getting started on this crossover episode of Locked On Canes and Locked On Seminoles. Folks, this is the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. Yeah, there's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. Folks, I'm telling you, climbing into that number one spot, Hawaiian Breeze. You have to try this. Feel the breeze, taste the caffeine. It's made with some of my favorite fruity flavors like passion fruit, orange, and guava flavors. It's sweet yet smooth. It's tangy yet tart. And guys, the strawberry watermelon, oh, so good. That's my sleeper. It's sweet and tart. It's got the candy-like flavor. It is the ultimate flavor duo. Some flavors were just made to go together. Add strawberry and watermelon to that list of delicious pairings. You want to find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Folks, if you've been looking to join the Everydayer Club, right now, literally right at this moment is the time to do that, because you can get your first month of the Everydayer Club free when you use our code MARCH. You'll unlock ad-free episodes and entry into our private listener group chat where we're hanging out today. Click the link in the show notes below or go to lockedonseminoles.supercast.com or lockedoncanes.supercast.com. And we're just filling out our brackets this morning. You could join our bracket challenge if you get in time before the games tip off at noon today. And Brian, as painful as it was for me, I've got the Duke Blue Devils winning it all.
Yeah.
I hated to do it.
They're banged up a little bit. I'm going to pick Michigan, but
ooh, okay.
They got a lot of size. Maybe it's not them. I don't know. But it's the NCAA tournament. There will be at least one thing that happens on Thursday or Friday. You're like, I had no idea that was possible. That's why the NCAA tournament's so much fun. It's been that way my whole life. I doubt it's any different this year.
Well, I want to announce it right now that this morning I filled out the world's first perfect bracket. No one has ever filled out a perfect bracket before. There's never been one on record. I filled it out at about 8:30 a.m. this morning. So just wait. This is going to age like a fine wine here over the next couple of weeks.
Oh boy! Good luck with that, Alex.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's talk defensive line, Brian. How is Florida State looking in that department heading into 2026?
It's a unique scenario. They have like the starters. I feel pretty good about. I don't know how many people know who Kevin Wynn is, but he was a 5-star going into last year, got banged up some. He's 330 pounds. He can be a true 2-gap nose guard. He will be the man in the middle that nobody wants to deal with. He's an animal. But he played like 40 snaps last year. He just got banged up in fall camp. It just never really materialized. But they did lose big Daryl Jackson. The kid who played at Miami, the transfer, like he finally went to the NFL. You can't really replace Daryl. He's 6'6", 340. You know what I mean? Those guys are so rare. Now, the Desir twins, Miami guys, they're going to be in the lineup or at least rotating. That's great news. But the question is, who in the world is going to be the edge, which ironically is Miami's question. They lost the best pair in college football, in my opinion. I think Florida State's biggest Achilles on defense is just being able to drop 7 and rush 4. There's a kid named Jalen Anderson out of Pearl River Community College that's coming in that's pretty good. You got Ryland Kennedy coming in as a transfer. He comes over from Texas A&M, but he was in a log jam. I mean, he played okay when he was in the lineup, but he didn't start. I'm not feeling great there. So they brought in like 9 guys, DN, D tackle in the recruiting class / JUCO ranks. Wow. That's a lot, man.
Wow.
And
yeah,
it really is. And the other part, and I don't know what their budget was or whatever, they didn't go get an elite D-line. Like everybody and their brother that follows Florida State knows, hey, okay, we're not going to replace Daryl. That's okay, whatever. We couldn't rush passer last year. They didn't go get a top-notch guy. That does not make me feel warm and fuzzy. Either they couldn't get it done because guys are like, I don't know if I want to play with Norvell with that situation, or they didn't have the money. Any reason, it's bad. I mean, if they didn't think they needed it, then I can't even answer to that. That's mind blowing. It is a concern. And if those two guys don't hit, I mean, they could be bottom 3 or 4 in the ACC in sacks. We know how that ends.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they'll be good against like the size. They'll be fine. And the other problem, like who's the depth? Daniel Lyons, guys, is a pretty good player. He's a South Florida guy, but he's been a role player most of his career. Like, if that's your other starter, it's going to be him or one of the dessert twins like Daryl to start on the other side. That's fine, but that's not what you think of like Florida State, Miami, 1988 through, like 2000, that era. It's not. Now the question is, again, can one of these freshmen do something? That's a lot to ask, man. Yeah. So I think especially the back half of the schedule, which Miami's right in the middle of that beginning section of it, it's a problem. Once you have a few injuries, who's going to be in the lineup? Like if Mandrell Desir is out of the lineup, he had like 6 sacks as Friday. He's a dude.
Yeah,
if he's banged up, there's nobody there that is going to get that kind of pressure. He's an NFL player. They don't have somebody else, at least to our knowledge, that can do that. It is such a razor thin scenario where with Miami, and I know you're going to talk about this, they just got more players. It's just flat out better recruiting. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I think for Miami this year on the defensive line, again, it's, a guy like Reuben Bain. I feel like Reuben's a generational type of guy. Like you don't directly replace him with any one person. I expect more of a rotation at defensive end in 2026 because, like, there were times if Bain didn't want to come off the field, he just was not coming off the field, right? And you lose both Bain and Mesidor, who had tremendous seasons. Now, Miami did go out and get a top-line guy in Damon Wilson, who had a 9.5 sack season at Mizzou last year, 54 pressures. Like, this is a top-line future NFL player, and the Hurricanes were very wise to go out and get him because he's going to really help fill that void. And I think for Wilson, one area where I don't think he's, as strong as Bain or Mesidor is like setting the edge and run stopping. And I think that's something he really wants to work on at Miami, hoping Jason Taylor can help him become more complete at that. But he had more regular season sacks than Bain did last year, believe it or not. I'm not saying he's as good as Reuben Bain, but I'm saying Damon Wilson is a hell of a replacement if you're going to go out and grab somebody. And then there's going to be, a lot of young guys in the rotation. Marquise Lightfoot had a good season last year as Miami's third defensive end. He's going to have an opportunity to step into a starting role if he can beat out someone like Hayden Lowe for that. Miami fans are super bullish on Lowe, who's a former 5-star recruit coming out of high school in California. He had to miss the entire season last year because he injured his knee like a week before the season started after he'd been practicing really well. So assuming he's back to full health, he's going to try to compete maybe with Marquise Lightfoot to be the other starter at defensive end. And, Miami, has guys like Herbert Scroggins and Armando Blunt and Booker Pickett Jr. coming off the bench. So, like, the volume is there. And I think Miami is going to try to sort of replace the top end talent that they had with Bain and Mesidor last year with like a really heavy rotation of capable players. And then defensive tackle, I feel pretty good about that with Justin Scott coming back for his third year. It's probably going to be a full-time starter. Like, he showed flashes of that as like the third defensive tackle last year. And Ahmad Moten Sr., who's someone who really turned on his game in, like, let's say the back fourth of the season, including the playoffs. Like, that was when Moten was playing his best ball. I think if this was the Miami of 5 or 6 years ago, he would have made maybe an unwise decision to go straight to the NFL and probably be a third day or an undrafted free agent. But, he decided to come back for another year, which I think is great for Moten, because if Moten can play a full season the way he played over like the final 5 or 6 games, including playoffs last year, he can really raise his draft stock this year. So I think Miami's defensive line, it's, again, it doesn't have the top line of Bain and Mesidor from last year, but I think there's an opportunity that group can be almost as good as the one from a season ago, Brian.
I think that, Scott, if you have to really double consistently on the inside, it screws up your blocking. I think he's that guy that can rush the passer enough. I mean, he's not Reuben, But if he's going to take that next step, they've got a very good staff. They got the right people up front to coach him. Yeah. Then Miami becomes a menace because, as you noted, like Booker Pickett is a guy maybe not a lot of people know. I know him personally. He's a great guy. If he's a guy that's not starting, come off the bench for you, or like Scroggins, that's another kid that I saw him play live. He's from Savannah, Georgia. If those guys are off the bench, you're in the – and if they're getting one-on-ones all the time, I know the back seven will be pretty good for the Canes. You know, they got plenty of talent. There's no reason for them not to be in the 35 back range as a team this year, what they finished last year, but they had to chip and do more things to prevent sacks. Like if you played Miami straight up last year, Miami was going to obliterate almost everybody they went against. I mean, the truth in the pudding was when they just annihilated Texas A&M's offensive line. That was a top 5 offensive line, and they had their way with it for the most part. Yeah. So I'm not saying they're going to be that like you did, but they still have more depth. They can kind of get away with a guy being out for a week or two here or there. It is as good as I think he is. Line conservatively in the country, even though they lost those two, that shows you the kind of ability to get it done. Because Damon Wilson, another kid I know, he's from Venice, Florida, great guy. He's going to be somebody you got to chip on 3rd and 7. That opens it up for Scott. Well, what about him? Like, you're going to have to use 6 in protection a lot, or you're going to be in trouble. Miami's defense will be a problem for just about everybody.
All right, so Florida State is already in spring football right now. Miami's going to be starting this coming Tuesday for spring ball. So I'd love to know your take, Brian, from Florida State first. Possible true freshmen that you see taking on either starting roles or starring roles in rotations this year. Are there any impact newcomers you can see?
There's some possibilities. I mean, it's obviously hard at this level. I'm not going to say offensive line or, I'd be insane. But Trey Bell III, he's a kid from South Florida. He's a really smart player. Could he be in the 2 deep? Sure. But I don't think there's going to be a starter. I'm looking at some of the other guys, and I'm kind of like, all these D linemen, somebody's going to play. I don't know which the one that I thought was going to, Cam Brooks. He's a kid that's from Thomas County Central. Great program. He tore up his leg already. Like he didn't even, and it's like he's going to miss the season. He was a kid who was going to play some this year. That was going to be my easy number 1 pick. So that's unfortunate. Another kid that they're high on, and they immediately put it, this is a sign. If you put a true freshman in front of the media in spring, his first spring, it's a sign. And he was recruited by everybody anyway. Ernest Rankins, the kid from the greater Atlanta area, he was recruited by Auburn, Georgia. I imagine Miami offered him too. He's a kid that's very well spoken, and he's like 6'5", 280 pounds, something like that. He'll be in that rotation because, like I said, D-line's a concern. I don't know about the depth. That's a possibility. And then for old school Miami fans, they might remember this in old school Knowles. Dexter Carter was a running back from Florida State, late 80s, played for the 49ers. His son, Devin Carter, is a kid that can play. He's really fast, played at one of the programs that's dominant in this state of Georgia, Douglas County. He's a receiver that maybe he's in that top 6. They do rotate a little bit of play, but they've got like 6 receivers. One of them is going to be like, they're all good. I'm not going to try to figure out which one. Jason Lopez, a kid that Miami recruited. He's on the hoops team too at Florida State. He's a possibility.
Yeah, of course.
Those are some of the guys, but it's, believe it or not, I'm not super concerned about Florida State starters. It's just that their depth is so thin. It's the back half of the schedule. And, games 7 through 12, I just don't think they're going to be able to hold up because there's going to be too many of these like freshmen and stuff having to play. That's going to be rough for them.
Yeah, in terms of Miami with freshmen, the one that you always have to lead off with is 5-star incoming freshman offensive lineman Jackson Cantwell. It's just as long as he goes out there, and again, spring ball hasn't started yet for Miami. He has practiced with Miami before because he enrolled early enough that he was able to partake in the playoff practices. So he's been able to get some work in with Mirabal already. But Cantwell's going to have every opportunity to be your 1 starter. The same way CeCe Maui-Noah was 3 years ago when he came in. Now CeCe leaves that right tackle spot open, and a lot of folks expect Cantwell to take that. Again, as a true freshman offensive lineman, there's a lot he has to learn because, as Coach Mirabal pointed out, when this dude is lining up in high school games, he's beaten everybody. Now in practices at Miami, he's actually going to get beat sometimes. So hopefully it's going to make him better. But Cantwell's a probable starter there. J.J. Dunnigan coming in at safety. I don't expect him to be a starter, but I think maybe he could kind of follow a similar path to Bryce Fitzgerald last year, where he gets some playing time and can be impactful with what he gets. I expect Fitzgerald in his second year to be a full-time starter this year, but Dunnigan just sounds like a dude based on the feedback we're getting from off-season workouts. There's a couple guys at receiver that I'm really, a few really. But again, Miami's receiver room is really deep, so it's going to be hard to get that immediate playing time. But Samori and Wingo, I hear really good things about the true freshman incoming out of St. Augustine. I heard stories about him playing for the scout team, for Miami's playoff opponents, and actually outperforming the receivers he was imitating for the teams that Miami was playing, that he was doing that well. And then another one I'm really curious about for special teams, possibly. Vance Spafford comes in, true freshman coming in out of California. He runs a 4.33, and so I'm just wondering, and he was returning kicks in high school, so I'm wondering if he, might be someone who gets some opportunities to be a return man this year, because Keelan Marion was Miami's kick returner last year, primary, and he's off to the NFL, so I wonder if Vance Spafford could get some opportunities there. But when we come back, I want to take a look at the win totals. Can Miami outperform over under 10.5? Florida State at 6.5. Do we go over? Do we go under? You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new Locked On Canes, Locked On Seminoles crossover episode. Oh, folks, it's tax time. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient. Sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book an appointment. Guys, the biggest stretch of the college basketball season is starting today. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, those unforgettable moments that everyone's talking about the next day. But being there live for something like that, that's bucket list stuff. The hardest part is always actually getting tickets, long queues, prices jumping around, surprise fees at checkout. But the Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. The seat view feature is a game changer. You can see panoramic views from your exact seat before you buy. No stress, no guesswork, just a smooth experience from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during the busiest part of the season. So take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles with Brian Smith and Locked On Canes with Alex Donno your first listen. For your next listen, flip them, man. If you're a Miami fan looking for more info on the Seminoles, make sure to check out what Brian's doing, and also check out the Portal pod that Brian hosts. If you're a Seminoles guy, you want to scout the enemy, check out Locked On Canes. Also check out Locked On ACC that I co-host with Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. We got so much great content on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Brian, let's start with Miami's win total, which I think, whenever I feel like Las Vegas nails it, it's when I look at the win total and I say, I'm going to sit this one out. I don't have enough confidence to play it. Now, if you're asking me what my predicted record would be for Miami, I think the Hurricanes probably go 11-1 regular season. The odds makers would tell you the one loss would be against Notre Dame, which is their toughest game of the regular season in South Bend. But like, even if they win that game, I still feel like there might be a slip up somewhere else because it's really hard to go 12-0 these days. So I would lean to 11-1, but with Miami's over-under being 10.5, do I feel good enough about the over to put actual money on the line on that? I'm not sure if I do, because I think Vegas got it right at 10.5. But what do you think, Brian? 10.5 from Miami. I would lean to the over. How do you feel about that?
I'm pretty much where you are. I think the Notre Dame game is the obvious conundrum. That game will probably go down to the last drive. But really, Clemson, looking at their schedule, Miami's schedule is awful. Like it is terrible.
It is.
It is terrible. Like Notre Dame gets beat up on about their schedule. Miami's might be worse because it is not their fault. It's just what the league gave them. I mean, you just go out and kick the crap out of it. Florida State sucks. Clemson is not very good. Yeah. Like the league is so down. Name a game besides the Notre Dame one where Miami's not favored by double digits. Unless it's Clemson, that'd be the only one, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict double digits, but at least by a touchdown. I think they'll be favored at least by a touchdown in every other game outside of Notre Dame, where they're going to be a dog by, anywhere between 3 to 6 points, depending on how the teams play up until then.
I mean, I would go over. It's a hard thing to do. If Mensah stays healthy and if they lose to Notre Dame, okay, it's up and stuff. If they lost any other game, Mario is going to take some heat. And this is the one bugaboo that fans from Miami want to talk about. Hey, he needs to stop losing that. What are we doing here game? Yeah. It's true. He's had that his whole career. But this year, their talent advantage, like he's recruited so well, balanced roster, balanced coaching staff. Like if they don't go 11-1 or 12-0, I'd be pretty disappointed in that, barring it. Like, Mensah gets hurt in week 2, whatever. But like anything else, like 10-2, I would be a little skeptical. Like, why did you lose the second game? Yeah, I would go over. Their schedule is very, very easy. And this is by far the best team in the league. They don't play SMU either, do they?
They don't. No.
The ACC screwed themselves this year. They really did do a very good job.
And the other part is, and I agree with you, Miami's schedule, it's like, it looks like the easiest schedule they've had in years. We always have to say on paper, but they were supposed to have a game against South Carolina, but since the SEC and ACC, they both went to the 9-game schedule. You noticed a lot of teams taking each other off the schedule. So they replaced a game against South Carolina. They replaced it with a game against Central Michigan. So it's like, that was another place the schedule took a hit. So I agree with you. Now for Florida State, 6.5. Now I can remember a couple weeks ago, Kenton Gibbs and I on Locked On ACC were going through the schedules, and when we looked at Florida State's schedule, like it was hard to kind of figure out a scenario, and this is assuming Florida State loses the Miami game. Maybe some Locked On Seminoles listeners think that that's a win, but like if they lose the Miami game, then it's hard to imagine they're better than like 3-4 at that point. And then that's the bye week comes after that. Is that the time Mike Norvell gets fired? But if they start the season like 3-4, and then you have an interim coach the rest of the way, I mean, you look at that 6.5, Brian. Are you taking the over on 6.5 wins this year?
I'm definitively under 4 or 5 wins is my guess. Here are the facts. In the last 2 years, all of the following is just 100% true. Florida State has not won a road game in 2 years, the last 2 seasons. That's hard to do, Alex. That's hard to do. That's number one. Secondarily, they have a combined 7 wins in 2 seasons. Why would you believe in that? Like in close games, they are so awful. And then, like I said earlier, they didn't go out and spend on defense for whatever reason the way they needed. They got some, like Jabril Rawls at corner. He'll play in the NFL. Okay, great. Desir play in the NFL. They've got a handful of guys that can play for anybody, but their depth isn't there either. And then once they get past, they play Central Arkansas. That's Norvell's alma mater. They go on a 3-game run that's going to decide things. And this is after SMU and Alabama, which I don't think they'll beat either. They got Virginia at home. That's the kind of game they always lose. They lost it last year, and that's when things went sideways. Yeah, but then the 2-game stretch you kind of alluded to, the most important you could argue is Virginia. If it is not, it's the one after. Nobody likes playing Louisville at Louisville, and they play them there on a Friday night. And then they get Miami the next week down at Hard Rock. And then they have the bye. Then they have Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
To end the year, they've got NC State and Florida at home. But do I think they're better than either of those teams? No. Like, if they won 4 games this year, would I be surprised? Not at all. If they got to 7, I would be literally shocked. And that's the number they need to get to on the over-under. Yeah. I haven't looked at the number, but it's 6.5. I bet you the under is juiced by FanDuel.
Oh, yeah, probably.
That would be my guess. I just don't think they have the depth. The schedule is actually harder this year than last. Their schedule is definitely harder than Miami's. And the timing of games is weird. And I might as well just go ahead and make my prognostication. Norvell get fired after the Miami game. I think that'll be a runaway game. If you're going to do it in season, you do it before the bye. It's the same thing in the NFL. I think they'll have like 2 or 3 wins going into that week. And I think they'll get embarrassed a few times. They got SMU second week, bye week, and then they play at Alabama. Good luck. Then you've got that little stretch there after the Central Arkansas game. I think the season will essentially be over. Yeah, I will be shocked if they reach 6 wins, let alone 7, which would be the number you have to hit to get over on FanDuel.
You were spot on about the juice, by the way. I'm on FanDuel right now.
Here it comes.
For Florida State's win total, to go over, it's plus 114. Okay. For the under 6.5, minus 140.
Oh my God.
That's juice. That is freshly squeezed OJ right there. That is.
I don't think many people are going to mess with the Florida State numbers, and that's just not a good value.
Yeah, no, it's not.
What's Miami? Like, is it juiced more under?
Look at the juice.
Because 10.5, I agree with you. For Miami, 10.5 is right where it should be.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's such a good number. Yeah, the over is actually a little juiced. The over for Miami is minus 128, and the under is plus 104. So yeah, you're right. That you nailed it.
Yeah. Well, that tells me not many people are going to bet on Florida State or Miami this year.
Yeah, that's right.
It is what it is. All right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe we'll be talking about a firing in October with Miami beating up on Florida. I might go down to that game just to see if it's as bad as what.
You know what? If it does happen, if Norvell gets fired that day, you're going to be glad you're there, because that's going to give you instant content for your shows. You're going to be able to get Norvell on camera, the press conference. You know, when he's doing the walk of shame out of the building after he gets fired, you could be right there.
There we go, man. It would be fitting in so many ways.
Yeah, well, great stuff. And I know we're going to do a lot more of these crossovers, especially when we get closer to October 17th, when these teams go head to head. He is Brian Smith. You want to check him out at FBScout_Florida. Also check out his awesome work at the Portal Show, in addition to Locked On Seminoles. And we love talking recruiting with Brian on Locked On Canes. That's where you find me, and at Alex Donno on X and on Locked On ACC. And we'll talk to you all next time. Thank you for making this Locked On crossover your first listen. We are part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.